Hello everyone. I wanted to come to you today to make a couple of announcements and updates for this week's session. First, I want to say thank you for your great work on your experience papers. I really enjoyed reading about your experiences and your families and learning more about you. So thank you for that great work on those writing assignments. The other thing I wanted to do in this announcement was remind you about some grammar resources that are available to you to help you correct some of the writing mistakes I mentioned in my comments to you. So I've already posted an announcement today about help for run-on sentences and fragment sentences. You can look at the PowerPoint I posted. It walks you through how to identify those errors, how to make corrections, and gives you some suggestions for what to do when you find them in your writing and how to correct them. The second piece I posted with the announcement is a run-on sentence practice test that you can take online. I would encourage you to use online resources to help you review how to correct your writing, how to edit your writing. Those tools can be really helpful. We also have the CAGS Online Writing Lab available to you under Communities. This is a great resource that CCU has recently developed, and I would highly encourage you to utilize that as well. The other tool that you may be interested in, if grammar and run-on sentences and pronoun agreement and subject-verb agreement, if those are struggles for you, then I would encourage you to look at using something called Grammarly.com. Grammarly is Grammarly. You can put that in a Google search and it will pull up this resource called Grammarly. There is a fee for this service. However, you can put the text of your paper or the text of your paragraphs into this tool and it will give you suggestions for how to correct errors in your writing, errors such as run-on sentences or issues with agreement. So it's a great resource if this is something that you struggle with. You do have to pay. I believe the fee is $29.95 a month, or you can get packages for a quarter that are a little bit less than that, or you can pay for a whole year at one time, and that works out to be about $11.25 or something like that per month for the year. So if you're going to be in school and doing lots of writing and you would like a resource that's going to help you correct your grammar, that might be something that you want to look at. So those are some tools to help you if you have questions in that area, and I hope you'll take advantage of those. Next piece I wanted to touch on is this week's coming assignments. We have 2 assignments this week, the writing exercise, number 2, and the observation paper. For the writing exercise, I just need you to pick student 1 or student 2. You do not need to look at both. You need to look at the introduction and conclusion for student 1 or the introduction and conclusion for student 2. Whichever student you pick, you need to then answer the questions for that assignment underneath that are listed on the assignment tab. So hopefully that will help you do that. The other piece for this week is the observation paper. And the observation paper can be a really fun assignment. What the assignment is asking you to do is to go to a location and just observe what you see. You can go to a mall, you can go to a train station, you could spend time in your home, you could go a variety of places and just observe people, observe the setting, and make notes about what you see and experience. Now the goal of this assignment is to get us as writers to slow down. Sometimes when we're writing, we're just quickly recording our ideas, and an observation paper helps us to slow down and think through what is it that we want to say and how do we put that on paper. And when we have to communicate what we see and experience, it forces us to talk about using our senses, and it helps us to show what we mean rather than just tell. So this is something you might hear instructors talk about quite a bit. Telling something in your paper is, for example, to say something like, "The man looked nervous." That tells me as the reader that the man looked nervous. And then in order to interpret that, I have to think about my experience with people looking nervous, and I sort of decide what the man must have looked like. However, as the writer, you can provide more detail to show your reader exactly what you mean. So perhaps you're observing someone in an airport, and you note that he looks nervous. Well, show me what that means. Is he fidgeting with his watch, darting his eyes, checking the clock repeatedly? How is he interacting with others that's making you believe he's nervous? When you put those kinds of details into the paper, it really shows me what you've experienced and observed rather than just telling me. So a good observation paper is going to use all the senses. You're going to tell me what it sounds like, what it smells like, how the air feels. What are all of the environmental factors that are giving you an impression of this place? Describe it to me in detail and really show me what's happening in that scene. Some students struggle with how to organize an observation paper, and there are a lot of different ways to do that. You can start your observation by considering objects and parts of the scene that are close to you, and then describing parts of the scene as they go further away. So if for example, you're sitting in an airport, you might start by talking about the people close to you and then observing gate numbers and people walking further away. Or you might do the reverse and start talking about what you see far away and then come up close. And you might talk about, someone who's traveling and, what they're packing or what they're taking with them. You can also, if you're, for example, at a mall observing people, you might describe people as you see them walking by. So you might sort of talk about the first shopper you see and the second shopper. I had a student once describe types of shoppers that he noticed as he sat in the mall. That's another way to do it. But really, you need about an hour to just sit quietly and observe. And I hope that this is a fun experience for you. In our culture, we've taken so often now to just picking up our phone if we're sitting somewhere and doing this, instead of looking around and observing what we see. So I would encourage you to take an hour at least. You're going to need that much to gather the information you need for this assignment, and take notes. Really experience what you see, and then tell me about it. Show it to me in a paper. Remember that your paper needs to have an introduction and a conclusion that frame your essay. And the scope is part of the rubric, and the scope really is that the whole paper is around one scene, one moment that you observe. Sometimes students want to talk to me about a variety of experiences they've had outdoors, for example. Maybe you had a great experience camping and a wonderful experience hiking, and you kind of want to put those together and tell me about an observation of nature. But that's not really what this assignment is about. This assignment is about taking time to observe one scene, one setting, and giving it to me in detail. So I'd love to read about the outdoors. If you want to go for a hike and then describe that observation to me, that's great. But work on making sure that you actually observe a scene and then put that into your paper. That will help you do well in terms of scope and staying focused on one scene. So I hope this is a fun assignment for you. If you look in Chapter 5 in the Belford Guide, our textbook, it gives a good example of how to do an observation paper, how to break it down. And I will look forward to reading those papers on Sunday. Hope you all have a great week. I'll be praying for you and thinking of you. Blessings to all of you. Take care.